They thought our world was lost, not just the surface ravaged and blistered by orbital firestorms, but the spirit that bound us together, the will to survive beneath the crushing weight of extinction. From the stars above, the once vibrant cradle of humanity now lies draped in a shroud of ash-grey clouds and magnetic storms, its oceans bruised black with chemical burns, its continents cracked like a dying heart. But they were wrong. Our world is not lost. Humanity has simply gone, silent, not broken, but waiting, hidden in the folds of darkness, gathering strength and preparing for the moment to strike back. Imagine, what if this happened to you? You're born under artificial skies, raised in the sub-levels of a city buried miles beneath irradiated soil. You've never felt sunlight. You've never breathed unfiltered air. All you've known is static-choked voices over comms, the thrum of reactor cores, and the lullaby of ancient sirens warning of aerial scans from the machines above. For the children of the burrow cities, the war is not history. It is breath. It is the silence between each heartbeat. High above the planet, the shattered wreckage of the UNS Indomitable drifts in cold orbit. Once the pride of Earth's Terran Defense Armada, now a graveyard of twisted metal, scorched wiring and silent decks littered with the belongings of those who gave their last breath to defend a species on the brink. Commander Alara Voss awakens. In the ruins of the bridge, her exosuit's biosystems flickering erratically, pain lancing down her spine as she gasps for breath in thinning air. Her helmet HUD sputters, trying to stabilize pressure, but oxygen is leaking. Fast. Her gloved hand brushes against the scorched control panel. Alara's reflection stares back at her, blood smeared across her faceplate, eyes bloodshot, resolve hardened by loss. Around her, the star field drifts like broken glass, and among it, just barely visible, are the hunters. Alliance interdiction. Drones, sleek and fang-shaped, programmed to scan for human biosignatures and eliminate survivors with surgical precision. They float past her like wolves in the void, unaware she still draws breath. She whispers into her comms, barely audible, "Still here, you bastards." Her mind drifts back. Flashes of screams, plasma detonations, bodies tumbling through decompressed chambers. The last stand of Earth's orbital defense. She remembers the moment the Nova Alliance betrayed us. Once our tenuous allies against the xenophage swarms of the Cumaean fringe, they turned without warning. They initiated the Terminus Protocol, targeting not just our military infrastructure, but every life-bearing ecosystem in Sol. An entire world burned in a synchronized barrage of graviton warheads and entropy bombs. In a single hour, 400 million lives were extinguished. No negotiations, no demands, just extermination. She was aboard the Indomitable that day, issuing counter-strike commands, praying for a miracle that never came. Her second-in-command, Captain Ralo Drax, died rerouting power to the shields. Her sister, Dr. Lyra Voss, vanished. In the chaos aboard Outpost Thales, last seen transmitting a defiant broadcast before their uplink went dark. But Alara didn't die. Not yet. Her comms crackle. One sound against the infinite silence. Echo Niner, phase shift engaged. You have 90 minutes. Repeat, 90 minutes. Window closes hard. Reclamators out. Hope flares like a sun in her chest. The Reclamators. Ghost stories, according to the Alliance. A myth. They said Earth had no surviving fleets, but in truth the Reclamators had slipped into the black. Scavenger warriors, engineers, rogue AI hybrids, fighting a secret war from the shadows, salvaging what tech they could from orbital ruins, hijacking derelict enemy ships, and building hidden arsenals in forgotten asteroid vaults. Alara never believed they were real. Until now. She grabs a plasma scalar rifle, burnt, scarred, and humming with low-level charge. It was custom-built by her sister, dual mod with adaptive amperage for vacuum combat. Her gloved fingers find the worn inscription on the barrel, "For when darkness falls." Her breath hitches. She's 20 minutes of oxygen from death, 90 minutes from extraction, and floating in a graveyard surrounded by enemies, Below, on the broken face of Earth, something ancient and powerful stirs. In the labyrinth of abandoned subway systems and collapsed arcologies, the resistance pulses like a second heart. Their name is the Emberfall Pact, engineers who turn scrap into weapons, biologists who turn decay into life, soldiers who wear relic armor from a dozen failed campaigns and still press forward. Each outpost runs silent, hidden behind magnetic dampeners and signal cloaks. They speak in code, trade in silence, move in ghost patterns through their war-torn world. In Burrow City 14, a child listens as her mother speaks of stars she has never seen. In Deep Vault Titanus, old warriors clean railgun barrels with holy reverence, knowing the next battle could be their last. In Skyhole Crater, a black market tech priest injects cybernetic stimulants into the spinal columns of volunteers too damaged to live normal lives, giving them one last mission, one last chance to fight, and all of them wait for a sign, a symbol that not all is lost. Alara adjusts her trajectory, burning thrusters in microbursts, weaving through a cascade of falling hull plates. Her HUD flashes proximity warnings, but she ignores them. She dives into the breach in the debris cloud, racing against the drone patrol's scan cycle. If she makes it through the field, if she reaches the signal marker at Echo 9, she will bring something the Emberfall Pact desperately needs: proof that the Reclamators live, proof that Earth has allies in the stars, proof that humanity has not fallen. Come on, she growls, slamming her thrusters to full. As the hull of the Indomitable shrinks behind her, and the mouth of the rift opens like a wound in the void, she knows. This is the moment. Everything has led here. The mission begins, and with it, the rebirth of the last human war. The rift was narrower than Alara expected. A jagged corridor of broken satellite cores, burst fuel cells, and shredded solar arrays. Once, these were the veins of Earth's orbital communications grid. Now they were just bones, floating in silence. She gritted her teeth as a cluster of molten debris scraped across her right pauldron, her exosuit's haptic sensors flaring red across her HUD. Her trajectory was good, but she couldn't slow down. Not yet. The hunter drones were circling. Back. Her oxygen countdown blinked. 17 minutes remaining. Behind her, the wreckage of the Indomitable vanished into the black. In front, the unknown. She accelerated again. Then, she saw it. The Reclamator beacon. Small, nearly invisible to radar, but her suit picked it up. A rotating tetrahedron of refracted light, broadcasting in a quantum-split frequency once used only by pre-collapsed Terran shadow networks. Alara felt her throat tighten. The beacon's signal couldn't be faked. The Reclamators were real, and they were watching her. A comm ping chirped in her ear, then silence. No voice, no instruction, just a pulse, 4 short, 1 long. A signal. Clear path. Follow. Do not deviate. She obeyed. The debris field thinned. She burst into open void. And there, hiding behind the eclipse shadow of a shattered mining barge, was a ship unlike anything she'd seen since before the war. Matte black, cloak-skinned, hull shaped like an inverted wing. Its engines emitted no signature, no thermal trail. It didn't drift. It waited. A docking ring extruded from the belly. She angled toward it, breath catching in her chest as the key lock engaged. There was no time to think. The moment the hatch hissed open, she pushed herself through, landing hard on a metallic floor, as the pressure equalized with a roar of compressed air. The inner bulkhead sealed behind her. Then, the lights came on, amber and red. Not sterile, and white like Alliance ships. This vessel felt alive, gritted, functional, nothing wasted. Walls covered in hand-carved insignias, scraps of old Earth flags sewn into bulkhead curtains, tools hanging from magnetic racks. This wasn't a military vessel. It was a hybrid of salvager tech, combat-grade systems, and raw Terran engineering ingenuity. Everything here screamed, "We fight with what we have." A tall figure stepped forward from the shadows, armor mismatched. His shoulder bearing the seal of Mars Mining Consortium, long defunct. His face was partially cybernetic, a shining optical lens where his right eye once was, and voice modulated by a voice box cracked by radiation exposure. "You're Alara Voss," he said. Not a question. She nodded. "You're Reclamators?" He smiled, though it didn't reach his eye. "We're the part of humanity that never stopped bleeding." As she followed him through the corridors of the ship, designation Deliverance, she saw others. A woman with plasma burns down her left arm, guiding a flock of maintenance drones with nothing but neural pulses. A teenager, no older than 15, reloading an old-world chain gun with bullets too heavy to carry alone. An AI core integrated into the ship's mainframe, pulsing softly with synesthetic light, whispering calculations in tongues once spoken only in the deepest labs of Lunar Station. The man who introduced himself only as Nero led her to the war room. A hologram of Earth rotated slowly above a rusted strategy table, its surface etched with battle scars and coffee stains. Projected above the globe were red flares. Alliance, outposts, hunter-killer fleets, suppression fields, but then came the gold flares. Hidden outposts, emberfall packed hubs, mobile resistance strongholds. Alara couldn't believe how many there were. "You thought you were alone," Nero said. "They wanted you to think that. Total tactical demoralization, psychological saturation via isolation protocols. But we've been here, Commander. Not in the light, no, but in the dark, in the seams. We thrive." Alara's fists clenched. "If this is true, then why haven't you struck back?" "We have," he said grimly. "You just didn't live long enough to hear about it." A pause, a shift in the air. The room fell silent as the AI's voice filtered through the comm array. "Priority intercept. Hunter Battalion en route. 47 minutes until visual. Acquisition. Vector locked on Deliverance signature. Partial stealth breach via gravimetric harmonics." Alara's eyes narrowed. "They followed me." Nero didn't flinch. "You led them." "That was the point," she blinked. You used me." "No," he said. "We trusted you to survive. There's a difference." Another pause. He leaned forward, pointing to a single golden flare on the hologram, buried deep beneath what was once the Eurasian Plate, a site known only as Vault Prime. "That's the last server of the Galactic Continuum, the old-world predictive AI. Before the collapse, it was the only system with enough processing power to map the quantum future of Earth. The Alliance couldn't crack it, so they buried it. We believe it still lives, and if we can awaken it, it might know how to end this war." Alara stared at the coordinates. The location pulsed with risk. It was deep inside enemy territory, surrounded by hunter patrols, magneto mines, and planetary instability. But something stirred inside her, a familiar flame, a reckoning. "How do we get there?" she asked. Nero's cybernetic eye flickered. "We don't. Not yet. First, we draw them out. The Hunter Battalion expects to find you alone, dying, lost, but instead they're going to find us waiting. And then we show them what humanity does in the shadows." Alara stepped back from the table, heart hammering. "Then let's make sure they remember it." The Deliverance roared to life, its silent systems humming with purpose. Fighters launched. From hidden bays, cannons deployed from disguised panels. The Reclamators weren't just survivor, they were warriors forged in ruin, born of ash and steel. The enemy thought Earth was silent. They were about to learn otherwise. The void trembled, not from sound, for in space, silence reigned but from motion. The kind of motion that precedes fury. The Alliance Hunter Battalion, 37 warcraft. Strong, emerged from high-orbit slipspace like fangs sliding through flesh. They didn't move like ships. They moved like predators, sleek, coordinated, perfect. Each vessel carried an AI core designed not to think, but to terminate. Ruthless algorithms optimized for planetary purges and urban extinction sweeps. To them, the Deliverance was not a threat. It was prey. But prey can bite back. Inside the Deliverance, Alara secured her armor plating, breath measured, mind honed. Her body still ached from the escape. Bruised ribs, blood dried beneath her biosuit, a hairline fracture along her left femur. But pain was old news. Survival was reflex. She stood now inside the launch bay, surrounded by a strike team of Reclamators, men, and women of every forgotten colony and burned-out station. All marked by the same brand, they were survivors who refused to die quiet deaths. The bay lights dimmed, replaced by red pulses. Combat synchronization countdown, 3 minutes. She locked eyes with Nero across the deck. He gave her a nod. No. Words needed. All right, she whispered to herself. Let's remind the stars who we are. The ship's AI, call sign Lies, activated the forward defense array. In moments, hard-point railguns emerged from the hull, paired with rotating flak turrets. The main spinal cannon, a pre-war singularity launcher salvaged from the Lunar Titan siege, began charging with a low, eerie hum that vibrated through every panel. Then, Liz spoke. Engagement begins. Weapons free. In a flash of light and kinetic energy, the void erupted. Alliance interceptors screamed forward. 24 sleek arrowhead fighters, their wings glowing with gravitic plating. Behind them, 3 Class 5 destroyers loomed, ready to open a salvo that would fracture the Deliverance in half. But Nero had prepared for this. The Reclamators' fighters launched, 12 in total, ancient hulls retrofitted with scavenged grav thrusters and laser scatter cannons. They weren't sleek, they weren't fast, but they were unpredictable and flown by aces who'd survived long enough to learn that instinct trumps programming. Within seconds, they tore through the interceptors in swarms, flanking hard, diving into blind angles the AI pilots never expected. A Reclamator fighter burst past Alara's viewport, venting fire and fury as it collided headfirst into an enemy corvette's ventral hull, turning both into a fireball of molten debris. It was a suicide run, but it bought them time. Inside the Deliverance, Alara's strike team dropped into the grav fangs, repulsor jump pods built to deploy squads onto ships mid-combat. Their target, the command deck of the lead destroyer, the NSC Valen Prime. Nero's plan wasn't to win the dogfight. It was to take the enemy's teeth, cripple their command structure, cut the head off the Hydra before the body could react. As Alara's pod sealed around her, her HUD lit up with mission parameters, targeting data and oxygen levels, but her eyes were fixed on one line only, objective command kill, the launch command fired. The grav fangs ignited, and Alara was ripped into the stars. She screamed through the silence, stars spinning, flak detonations flashing like thunderless lightning all around her. In 20 seconds, the grav fang would attach to the hull of the Valen Prime, breach the deck, and unleash them into the heart of an enemy that believed humans no longer fought like this. The impact came hard. The world turned sideways, screaming metal. Then the hatch blew and Alara's boots hit alloy. Gunfire erupted instantly. The destroyer's command corridor lit with plasma bolts and suppressor drones. 2 Reclamators fell, but the others surged forward, clearing breach. Rooms, planting decharges, pushing deeper into the neural control core of the ship. Alara ducked behind a console, returning fire with her modified plasma rifle. 1 shot, 2, 3, center mass on a drone squad. She pivoted, flipping a magnetic blade from her thigh harness, and drove it into the chest plate of an approaching guard, twisting until the circuits sparked and the enemy dropped. The air here tasted like ozone and old blood. The floor shook as the Deliverance fired another round from its spinal cannon. The battle outside raged, but inside this corridor, inside these metal lungs, humanity was gasping its way back to life. Alara reached the command node, a vertical slab of quantum, crystal pulsing with data. It was protected by an elite interceptor unit, 4 cybernetically augmented tacticians. No fear, no retreat. But Alara had no intention of retreating either. She sprinted forward, flanked by Nero and a soldier named Silas, a Martian-born zero-G brawler wielding twin sonic hammers. The corridor exploded into chaos. Silas dove low, shattering a guard's exosuit with a hammer blow that crumpled its chest like foil. Nero went high, dropping two more with precision bursts from a rail repeater. Alara leapt over a broken console, landing hard and driving her boot into the final guard's jaw, then unloaded a full clip of plasma rounds into its core. Silence. The node pulsed weakly, its interface blinked red. Alara stepped forward. She didn't hesitate. She planted the data spike, crafted from ancient Earth code, written in a dead programming dialect once used to override military AI cores. The spike burrowed deep. The node stuttered. The destroyers' systems hiccuped, then began to rewrite. Outside, the Alliance fleet faltered, weapons misfired, navigation desynced, engines glitched. One by one, their ships blinked out of formation, their unity breaking. Nero's voice came through her comms, hoarse with awe. "It's working. Alara, you did it." She didn't smile. "This isn't victory. It's just a message." Behind her, the core flared, broadcasting a signal encrypted in the oldest Terran tongue, the one only humans still remember. It said, "We are still here. We remember the stars, and we will take them back." The space around the Deliverance seemed to hold its breath. For a moment, nothing moved. The Reclamators' ships hung still in the dark, their weapons silent, as the scrambled signal from the Valon Prime's command core pinged across the comms. Inside the command room, Alara stood, fingers still pressed against the cracked data node. The weight of what she'd just unleashed sinking in. They'd triggered something far beyond a simple rebellion. They'd sent a message. And the galaxy had been listening. Lyce, the ship's AI, spoke again. "All Alliance ships have entered disarray. However, the response vector is already calculating a retaliatory strike. Fleet Command has already mobilized secondary waves." Nero didn't flinch, but Alara saw the sharpness in his eyes. The message had been received, but it had been misunderstood. The Alliance wasn't afraid of humanity rising. They were angry, and that anger would be deadly. "We knew this wouldn't be easy," Nero muttered, "but we've stirred the hornet's nest. If we don't act now, they'll reassert control faster than we can break them." Alara turned, looking at the flickering holomap above the table. The golden and red flares marked her fleet's position against an overwhelming number of enemy ships. Alliance reinforcements were already en route. 3 battle groups were converging. And yet, there was a sliver of hope. One final play. Vault. Prime, the location from earlier, the buried AI, a weapon of unimaginable power. The Reclamators had hinted at it, but now it was more than an ideal. It was their salvation. But the path to it was lined with danger. She could hear the air hum with the low thrum of the Deliverance's engines as she approached the bridge. The gravity stabilizers kicked in, and her boots clacked sharply against the deck. The last battalion of Reclamators was already assembling, weapons loaded, spirits tempered. They weren't fighting for survival anymore. They were fighting for a future, for freedom. "Are we ready?" Alara asked, her voice steady, despite the swirling chaos in her chest. Nero nodded, his mismatched armor reflecting the tension in his gaze. "We can't afford to fail now. Vault Prime is our best shot. Once we access the core, the Continuum AI can rewrite the parameters of the war. We can turn the tide." Alara's heart beat faster. There were no guarantees in this. No fail-safes. The odds were insurmountable. But then, that was humanity's strength, wasn't it? The refusal to bend, to accept the inevitable. A single spark could light the darkest nights. "We move now," she said, and her voice carried the weight of 1,000 unspoken promises. Outside, the Reclamators' ships drifted into position, ready to make their jump into enemy-held space. The Deliverance's engines flared, the stealth systems flickering in and out of existence. The battle above Earth was far from over, but now the real war had begun. 1 hour later, the fleet arrived. Vault Prime was buried beneath the ruins of a collapsed megacity, the last remnants of humanity's lost colonies before the collapse of the Terran Collective. It had been hidden there, buried under miles of debris and geological shifts, for one purpose: to hide the Continuum AI from the Alliance's grasp. It was a weapon, but also something more. a repository of knowledge, an archive of every human effort to break free of oppression, an artifact from a time when humanity believed it could shape the stars. Alara's boots hit the shattered ground with a thud. The site was ancient, its stone buildings half washed away by centuries of sand and rain. A dark sky loomed above, the remnants of what was once a thriving colony, now nothing more than a ghostly memory. Vault Prime was just ahead, half buried, beneath the ground, its doors sealed shut by decades of entropy. The team had arrived under the cover of night, but it wouldn't be long before the Alliance's forces found them. They would have to move quickly. Nero was the first to step forward, hacking into the sealed entryway with his old-world tools. The clang of metal against rusted machinery echoed across the ruins as the door hissed open, revealing a dark interior. The air was stale, cold, and heavy with dust. They moved inside, the light from their helmets flickering across walls adorned with ancient data panels, now half blown out or corrupted. But the core was intact, and it pulsed faintly with power, humanity's last hope. Alara took a deep breath and stepped forward. "We're here," she said softly. Nero nodded. "Let's see if it's enough." The team spread out, securing the area, while Alara moved to the central console. It was a massive structure, its surface covered in intricate patterns, lost languages, symbols from long-forgotten Earth eras. She placed her hand on the console, and the system hummed to life. Lise, the ship's AI, integrated into the network, spoke once more. "Vault Prime Core is online. Data scan initiated. Welcome back, Commander Voss. Humanity has waited for you." The console pulsed brighter, and data flooded Alara's HUD, maps, schematics, military plans. But there, amidst it all, was something more. A cryptic message, encrypted with layers upon layers of protection. It was a message from the Continuum AI itself. To survive is to fight. To fight is to remember who you are. Humanity was never meant to be defeated. Rise, for the galaxy awaits. The walls trembled as the Alliance's forces arrived in orbit, cutting through the atmosphere like a storm. They had found them. Alara's heart pounded in her chest as the map of the galaxy flickered to life. The Reclamators' hidden bases, the Alliance's weaknesses, and one final message burned across the screen. The war was just beginning. "Let them come," Alara whispered, her voice filled with conviction. The battle for humanity's future wasn't just a fight for survival anymore. It was a declaration that humanity would not be lost. Not today, not ever. The stars would remember the Reclamators. They would remember their fight in the shadows. And in the end, humanity would rise once again. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to like and share with your fellow sci-fi lovers. Comment below with your thoughts and theories. What do you think is next for the Reclamators? What new challenges will humanity face in the galaxy? I can't wait to see what you all think. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more epic adventures. Omini.